Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. I'm doing a lot of these top 10 category videos before I jump into my top 10 overall games of 2023, and these are my top 10 big box strategy games of the year. Now, one note before I get into this video is that I consider myself a medium weight gamer. I don't play a lot of heavy games. So you're not going to see a game like Nucleum or Scholars of the South Tigris here. I'm sure they're great games. They're just not the types of games that I play. I play a lot of things that are 2 hours sort of max, maybe 2.5 hours. You know, if I have 5 hours to play games, I want to play 3 or 4 games, not just a single game. So all of these are medium weight games. Some might even be medium plus, but those are the types of things that I considered for this list. They are still all big box strategy games. You know, they have a lot of choices, a lot of decisions, a lot of components and things going on, but just aren't heavy games. So yeah, I hope you like it. Here are my top 10 big box strategy games of 2023. Number 10 is Distilled, which is a highly thematic game about crafting alcoholic spirits. You're trying to make whiskey and gin and vodka. But one of the coolest things about the game is because it is so thematic, there are also alcohols in the game that I never heard of before from different regions of the world that I don't really get that much here in America. And so I got to learn about different types of spirits, different types of booze from all over the place. You know, it really is a theme forward game. Everything you are doing in the game is in service of building your distillery and making it better, making it more efficient. There's a lot of ways to upgrade, a lot of paths to victory. You can get upgraded ingredients. You can get upgraded people that will give you special abilities. You can get upgraded bottles and barrels for your booze. There's just a lot of different cards and upgrades that you can get throughout the game. So there's a lot of replayability because you're going to have a lot of different avenues to explore. Now, I don't play a lot of just sort of dry Euro games. I need there to be a little bit of excitement in a game for me. I want there to be a little bit of unknown, a little bit of tension. And one of the things that Distilled does that provides that is that you're putting together your cards that make up the alcohol you're trying to distill, but then you shuffle up this sort of stack of cards that you're using and get rid of the top card and the bottom card. That is very thematic because in distilling, you're going to get rid of the head and the tail of the craft that you're doing. And but that also adds this little bit of tension because you can sort of push your luck and go, well, I'm only putting in what I need here, so hopefully I lose a water and not one of the barleys that I actually need to make the thing I'm trying to make. But sometimes you do lose it and you're like, oh no! And so I like that little bit of excitement, that little bit of unknown in a big Euro game. So number 9 is Everdell Far Shore. If this was my first foray into the world of Everdell, this would probably be higher. I mean, this might even be in just my top 10 overall games of the year because it's a great game. But it also feels largely the same as Everdell, and Everdell is a game I love, and so, you know, it's kind of a weird product because it is better than original Everdell, but it's only like 10% different than original Everdell. Those things they changed made the game better. For instance, in Everdell, you could chain cards together. If you had one card, then you could play this other card for free. But they were very specific cards, and sometimes what you needed never came up, you know? I was looking for this critter that I could play for free because I have this card in my tableau, but I never got that critter in my hand. Well, one of the things Everdell Far Shore does is you have these anchor tokens, and now you can chain cards together whenever you want. It's not based on a specific card coming up out of the deck. You can choose a couple of times a game to just chain cards together because you want to do that right now. And that gives you a lot more agency. That takes away that frustration point of not getting a card coming up. It also adds the boats and you can sail along this track, and so that adds a new way to score points in the game. But like I said, it does feel pretty similar to Everdell. It's just slightly better than that. So it is a great game that I love playing. Number 8 is World Wonders. This is a tile laying game, and you are drafting tiles, and then every once in a while you can get these big chunky World Wonders. They are these big wooden pieces that add to your board, and they're real world wonders. They're real sort of things throughout the world, and that's cool. And then it just, the table presence looks great in this game because you not only have your polyomino tiles, then all of a sudden you have these sort of just big wooden structures that are coming out of your board. So I like that about it. It's also a really interesting drafting mechanism because you are paying gold to get different tiles that you want. And, the larger the tile, the more gold it costs. And so you are, spending your resources over around trying to, maximize what you're getting and that sort of stuff. But to get one of those wonders, you have to spend all of the rest of the gold for the round that you have, which adds this really fun tension point because I'm looking over at this player going, oh, I think they want that wonder. But I've only spent 2 of my gold. Do I spend all of the rest of my gold to take it before they take it? Or do I get another turn and then try to hope that it's there for me when it comes back around to me the next time? But what if they take it and I don't know. It makes for that interesting tension choice of do I want to just overspend for that resource, for that wonder right now, or do I want to try to squeeze another turn out of this round? I really like that aspect of the game. Number 7 is Oros. This is a brain-burny, puzzly game. This is one where I'm like, every time I finish playing it, I really like the game, and I'm also exhausted from thinking so much. You are moving tiles around on a board. You are sliding tiles and then trying to make them smash together and form bigger land masses in its place. So if a 2-tile and a 2-tile smash together, it forms a 4-tile mountain, and you are trying to form mountains because you can only build your temples on mountains. The other cool aspect of the game is we each have our own player board, and you have all these columns that have special abilities on them. But to get a lot of those special abilities, you have to raise your knowledge caps in those areas. And you're never going to be able to do everything. So what do you want to specialize in? It's just a cool way to sort of level up your meeples in the game, is raising the knowledge for specific columns and unlocking new cool special abilities for your meeple. Oh, now this meeple can move 2 spaces instead of 1 space. Oh, now this meeple can move through water instead of being stuck on land. Things like that. It's just all helping you with the puzzle, and it's I don't know, this is definitely an underrated game to me. It's one that I don't feel like a lot of people have talked about, but I've taught it multiple times at conventions because I want more people to know about Oros. It's just a really cool puzzly game. Number 6 is Lunar Rush. This has some of the most interesting timing considerations of any game I've played. It is a sort of engine buildy game, but you are bidding on routes at the start of each round. You are sending resources to the moon and then using those resources to build upgrades. That's sort of the engine. Once you can build these upgrades, then you start an engine that gets you more and more stuff, gets you more points, gets you more ability to sell things at the market. But to send stuff to the moon, you can either do it on a short route, a medium route, or a long route. Now, the short route will get you resources right away that turn, but it can only hold a couple of things. Whereas the long-term route is going to take 3 turns to get to the moon, but can hold a ton of resources. And so there's so much forward planning in the game. There's so much, okay, I need this turn, but I need this 3 turns from now. How do I sort of figure that out? How do I bid appropriately to get the stuff in the order that I want it? It does feel like a very tight game. This is a game where if you make a mistake, you're kind of punished for it, for sure, where you're like, oh no, I didn't think about that. I'm screwed for the next 3 turns. It definitely has that aspect of it. But so if you don't mind a tight game, I think Lunar Rush is really interesting and cool. Number 5 on my list of big box strategy games of 2023 is Earth. This is a game where every time somebody else does something on their turn, you get to do a sub action. So you're always involved. You're always doing stuff. I don't like a lot of games with long turns and a lot of downtime. When I'm looking at my watch that doesn't exist and trying to be like, when are you going to finish your turn? I'm ready to go. I don't like that sort of stuff. And Earth doesn't feel like that because it's just always happening. It's always going. Now, there's a lot of different stuff going on in the game. There's a lot to, keep track of. And you're constantly burning through cards. You're constantly trashing stuff, doing stuff, getting things. There's just a lot of sort of resources always happening in this game. But it does make it very fun for that reason. It's also gorgeous. There's a lot of really pretty artwork in the game, very nature themed. This is definitely there's been a lot of nature themed games in the last few years, but this is one that will continue to make my table over a lot of other nature themed games. Number 4 on my list is Expeditions. This is the sequel to Scythe, and I actually never played Scythe. As I mentioned earlier, I'm more of a medium weight gamer than a heavyweight gamer, so Scythe always intimidated me a little bit, but Expedition really falls into my wheelhouse. So if you've ever felt the same thing where you're like, I want to try Scythe, but it might be too much for me, Expeditions is the way to go, because this definitely feels like a medium plus game, but still falls into that medium weight category and can make the table much easier sort of than Scythe. It plays quicker, easier to set up. It has all of these, it pulls from a lot of different things. It has a lot of different elements to the game. There's some exploration. There's some engine building with the cards that you're getting. There's some worker placement, trying to get workers that you add to your cards that make them stronger. There's a little bit of a lot of things in the game, but it comes together in a really nice package, and you kind of get a taste of a lot of different stuff in the game, which I really love. This one also has way different type of art than Earth, but I really like the art in the game, sort of steampunky, a little bit feeling to it. It's just great game, Expeditions. Number 3 is Last Light. Speaking of me not liking super long turns, Last Light is a game with simultaneous turns all of the time. Everybody's always doing stuff, which I love. It definitely, you've heard a lot of people say about Last Light, like it's a 4X game that plays in an hour, and I certainly was skeptical of that when I heard that description, but I've had a chance to play this game multiple times, and it really does, play quickly and feels like that big sort of 4X-y type of game where there's a lot going on and yet distilled down into an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Sometimes, in fact, it plays so quickly that you aren't ready for it. I played one game of this where I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my engine going, I'm gonna build up some stuff. Another dude just like rushed in, did a bunch of stuff, and the game was over, and I was like, wait, what? I feel like I haven't even started. And it was like, yeah, well, you shouldn't have waited so long. You got to get going in this game right away. There is, you don't have to spend a bunch of turns building up. You want to get in the action right away in Last Light. And I think that's really fun about the game. It also looks crazy cool on the table. I'm a sucker for table presence, and it has all these cool planets all over, and it looks really great. So yeah, if you want a big feeling exploration space game distilled down into a short playing time, Last Light is great for that. Number 2 on my list is Wild Tiled West. There have been a lot of Polyomino games over the last few years, and I love Polyomino games, and I love this one, okay? I don't care that there's been a lot of Polyomino tile laying games when games find a way to do it a little bit differently and things like that. And Wild Tiled West, yes, it is a Polyomino game, but I love it. One, I love it because of the Wild West theme. I think they did a great job nailing the Wild West theme, and I love that sort of rootin' tootin' feel of it. You know, there's like little things like your bullets turn into tombstones. So when you shoot a bandit with a bullet, you put a tombstone on their little spot. And now that bullet is a tombstone. And I love little thematic elements like that sort of feel Wild Westy. It's also cool how you draft your tiles. At the start of the round, you roll a number of dice, and then those dice get placed out, and now you can only draft tiles from the spots where the dice are. So it adds an interesting restriction, and it adds a little bit sort of more player interaction when you're like watching someone being like, please don't take that one, please don't take that one. No, you took that one. Oh, okay, what else am I gonna do? What else am I gonna do? And this is another one with a lot of paths to victory. You can try to fill in towns with your Polyomino tiles. You can create big areas of cows, and you can wrangle the cows. You can try to shoot a lot of bandits. You can cover up horseshoes. There's just a lot of cool different ways to score points and a lot of avenues to victory. And my number one big box strategy game of 2023 is Apiary. This is a worker placement game, and I love it for a couple of reasons. One, every time you place a worker out, someone else can come to that same spot and bump off your worker, and now your worker ticks up in power. And I like that because it's a worker placement game that doesn't feel mean. You're never frozen out of spots. You can still go there. You still need to consider it because you are helping make somebody else stronger, and do you want to help them right now? Maybe you avoid that spot, but you can still go there if you need to, and I really like that. I also like that you can bump your own workers, and so there's this strategic element to the game where I want to level up my workers quickly. How can I go someplace that if nobody else bumps me, I can come there my next turn and bump myself and level up my own worker? I like that about it. And I like that because you're not frozen out of spots, it leads to way less analysis paralysis than some other worker placement games. I can still go there. You haven't ruined my whole turn. And so turns are snappier than some other games like this that I have played, because you went there, you're not affecting my whole turn. I don't need 5 minutes to figure out a new strategy now. I can still go there if I want to. And you're only placing a single worker every turn. So while the game, can stretch over a couple of hours, each individual turn moves pretty quickly, and I really like that about it. Plus, space bees. The theme of the game is space bees, and everybody loves space bees. It's weird, it's cool, it's different. I'm on board. I am on board with Apiary. So, yeah, there we go. Those are my top 10 big box strategy games of 2023. If you haven't had a chance to watch some of my other category videos, I've done my top 2-player games and my top party games and my top small box games, and there's a bunch of them, and I will be releasing my top 10 overall games of 2023 here very soon. So thank you so much for liking, subscribing, sharing, all of that sort of stuff. I really appreciate the support. I love the board game community, and I'm happy to be part of it. Thanks so much. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex.